Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today we have a great guest on. Now, as many of you that listen and watch the show, you know our friend John Garrett, the comedian CPA is what we like to call him. Had this guest on his show, and I checked out his profile, and I was like, you know what? You don't find too many accountants that can actually explain blockchain as as a business tool or just the concepts in cryptocurrency. They know a little bit about it, but this is a person who has a deeper knowledge about it. So I want to welcome on the assistant professor, Dr. Sean Stein Smith. So thank you for coming on the show.
Awesome, Terrell. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we jump, deep into, blockchain and we talk about, your Forbes contributing author, what was kind of like, your background before the world of blockchain became, part of your studies?
Yeah. So I would say that really sort of my interest in crypto blockchain, I would say started in 2015, 2016, right? And I would say prior to that, from about 2008, 2009 up until 2016, 2017, I worked in industry as a CPA, working really sort of half accounting, half IT, right? Always sort of in that halfway point, basically trying to take tools that are out there, automation, IT platforms, all the rest, to help all of us at the firm sort of get better data out the door in a more time compressed manner. And so honestly, as I was doing my PhD research, sort of on new tools, new platforms, new options for companies to get more data out the door, this whole idea of blockchain was sort of bubbling up on the surface. And then honestly, in 2015, 2016, I was hearing more on this whole Bitcoin thing. And then obviously in 2017, it was all over the news, headlines, Bloomberg, CNBC, all the rest. And then honestly, I've been hands deep in there since.
Gotcha. Now, what was it like? I mean, when we're working, you said as a CPA, and you have your hand in the technology side. Did you find that many other CPAs really grasped or understood what you were trying to help them understand?
Well, I mean, every firm is going to be different, right? And I would say that in terms of automation and your IT at large, be it automation, bots, AI, other applications like that, I would say that most folks out there are sort of on board with that, right? They're on board with trying to get some of that automation work underway. But as far as crypto and blockchain, I was talking on this topic back in 2016, 2017, and most conversations would then end with, huh? Like, okay, Sean, that's all great, but what are you talking about? And, it was more of a sort of incremental process, trying to get folks to you buy in, to understand, and to actually get the upside of this tool.
Mhm. Now, have you seen more businesses start to, gravitate or I guess start to grasp the value of blockchain or start to understand it more?
I would say so, yes. I mean, I know that if Forbes puts out their Forbes 50 list. I believe they put out their second annual list back in April of this year, 2020. And really, I mean, all of the heavy hitters are on there. Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, Toyota. I mean, in IT companies, auto companies, food service companies, and really as these big firms out there, right? Obviously, the top firms have the people, have the expertise, and have the money to actually get a blockchain to work in house at their firm. But almost as a add-on sort of byproduct of that, as their supply chains are more and more built into their in-house blockchains, there is a higher level of conversation and uh, understanding from a accounting, audit, tax angle on the obstacles and the uh, opportunities that are going to come along with having more blockchain based or blockchain augmented platforms at firms in a whole range of areas.
Gotcha. Now, speaking of that, some of the said the challenges or the hurdles there.
Mhm.
Um, are there any like like you say, major hurdles that you see a lot of companies or even some of those top 50 players that they kind of struggle to try to figure out?
Sure. And I would say that the top two, three, four items out there, cost, obviously, right? Because it's hard to actually get the coding to work as advertised, right? So it costs money, hire people, hire the coders, get the software, hardware up and running. Then also after that, it's always important to understand that any application, be it blockchain, be it crypto, be it AI, are not out there in some bubble, right? They have to exist and uh, interoperate with other platforms that are already at these companies, right? Right, because all that a actual blockchain is, it's a record of transactions that already happened, right? But in order to actually get the upsides to get those benefits of blockchain, that blockchain has to be able to talk to other IT systems in billing, inventory, HR. And so having sort of that aspect actually operate as advertised is quite challenging. And then the last sort of big headwind that I see out there, it's always important to always take a step back, right? That the blockchain area is fast growing. It's a hot topic. I'm a big advocate of it. But not every problem or every firm is a good fit for it, right?
Yeah.
It's a tool, it's a powerful tool, but that tool has to be tasked to help solve the correct problem, right?
Mhm.
And if at a certain agency, a firm, or an entity, those problems aren't going to be solved by a blockchain based platform, it isn't always going to be actually worth the effort or the time.
Gotcha. So with that being said, I mean, are there some organizations or I guess say types of problems that you've seen, are good fits for blockchain so as a solution?
Sure. And I would say that honestly, those areas of problems are probably most obviously shown anything to do with the transportation or the trying to transfer either goods or information between a large number of uh, entities, right? Walmart has this huge supply chain. And so to help sort of get some more transparency and traceability into that, they've actually developed their own in-house blockchain. But the whole conversation on transportation and the transfer of goods and services is actually a much bigger area than I think most folks actually understand, right? Right, because the whole idea around transportation, sure, it's packages, goods, people, but it's also information, right? Our whole uh, conversation right now is the actual transfer of information, right? And in order for it to happen via broadband, uh, intellectual property, online streaming platforms, all of that has to be done using a platform that's going to actually help ensure that the transfer of information between party A and party B happens on a on-demand basis and does so in a manner that's actually going to be safe. And so then, in that context, everything from uh, filing a claim with a insurance company, doing any sort of cross-border payments, banking transactions, equity transactions, bond issuances, really sort of the applications for blockchain where it's a good fit are for cases or problems in which there is data or goods being transferred between a large number of external counterparties. And all of those different groups have to have access to that exact same data on a on-demand basis.
Gotcha. And I can definitely relate to that because one of the last roles that I had before, I started my own CFO consulting firm was I was director of FP&A for a payment processor.
Okay.
And before I started there, I worked for General Electric and I worked in the manufacturing. But when I got to see like all of the number of transactions and the amount of data that happens with just one payment processing. And then when you multiply that by, where you're doing like 20,000 an hour, it's just like, my goodness, it's a massive amount of data, a lot
Yeah.
of security measures to make sure, like I said, the data gets to the right place and that it is protected, it is secure. So I can definitely see that.
Yeah. No, and I know that a big player in that commercial payment space is JP Morgan. And so actually their in-house blockchain platform, Quorum, is actually now being used by a number of the commercial clients for those payments between on a business to business basis. And at that one entity handles $6 trillion of payments every single day. And
Wow.
and every dollar of those payments has to be correct, hopefully,
Yeah.
right? So having a platform or a tool to actually help that happen in a transparent, traceable manner is really a huge upside for any institution, for any firm out there um, who's involved really in that transfer of data, information, and/or goods.
Mhm. Awesome. So now when you think about, the your I guess your job as an assistant professor, I mean,
Mhm.
what are some of the courses that you're teaching, and I guess how is the school or how are the students adapting or adopting and adjusting to introducing more crypto and more blockchain into the curriculum?
So I've taught basically every course, all the way from just introduction 101 to the advanced accounting theory and current problems course. And so honestly, what I've been trying to do, right, in every single course is to we try to sort of weave in crypto and blockchain and other tech trends uh, as they come up in the actual content, right? So if I'm doing a course on how to value um, financial instruments, I'll then introduce the topic of okay, fine. So we have equity, debt, but how do we value Bitcoin, right? Where does it fit in this whole conversation? Items like that, or if I'm doing a course on audit practices, obviously then the whole audit process is heavily impacted by crypto, blockchain being onboarded at companies. And so honestly, the overall angle that I've tried to take is to introduce the ideas and the actual content, but to also try to do so in a manner that it ties back to the current topic that I'm actually covering. And as far as interest goes, really, I mean, they are quite interested, right? Everybody out there sort of knows that the blockchain is here, crypto is here, Bitcoin is a big deal, right? But actually trying to understand it to actually see how it connects, right, to other topics, to accounting, finance, markets, audit practices, tax questions, all the rest is I think at least that component that is kind of still trying to get built out. But I mean, I would say that in terms of interest and of uh, appetite for it, very high.
Okay. Awesome. Now, I also noticed that you're a Forbes contributor, which simply means your articles get featured in Forbes, and when they have an article or I guess a topic in your space. So, how often are you getting articles in the Forbes?
Sure. So I've been a Forbes contributor, I guess, since about April uh, of this year, and I try to publish a article uh, each week. So on a topic, now I've covered topics from PayPal and Bitcoin, blockchain, policy questions, blockchain for ES uh, and G, items like that. And so honestly, I tried to really in that column for Forbes, tried to highlight sort of the issues on crypto, but to also try to open up the whole conversation that actually crypto and blockchain are a much bigger area outside of Bitcoin, to try to get that broader audience and to try to also educate people, right? That there are these huge applications out there for blockchain outside of Bitcoin, Litecoin, items like that.
Okay, gotcha. Now, if someone's looking on Forbes on the website or in Forbes magazine, what's the best way for them to find your articles?
Just if you're on Forbes.com, type in Sean Stein Smith.
Got it. Got it. Perfect. Now, before
Only
we
one
wrap,
out there. So
before we wrap up, one question that I like to ask every guest that comes on is, when you think about, your contribution to, business ownership and how business runs, whether it's small business, big business, and, your experiences in business, is what would be two pieces of advice that you would share with business owners?
sure. So I'm on the board of a few companies out there actually in the crypto payments area. And honestly, what the two biggest pieces of advice that I would give for any entrepreneur, business owner out there sort of trying to understand blockchain and crypto is to, one, always know what you don't know, right? All of us know what crypto is, how blockchain works, but in a space like blockchain and crypto that is moving and evolving so fast, it's always a excellent idea to onboard a expert to actually help you understand how it's going to work at your business. And then two, more sort of overall, right? As a entrepreneur, as a up and coming business owner, you always have to make sure that the problem you are solving is an actual problem, right? Right. I mean, there are aspects of business, of owning a business, that are inconvenient, sure, but it's always important to understand the actual difference between a inconvenience and a business problem that other customers are going to pay for. And so understanding that basic difference is a good piece of overall advice that I would give to any entrepreneur out there.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Sean, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing your story, and also just sharing a little bit more so we can learn more about, blockchain, and just really start to expand the way we think about it outside of just, Bitcoin or just the few coins that we're aware of, but to really see it as a technology and a solution. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense.